Dividing polynomials. Here's an example of dividing two polynomials. In the first set of parentheses, we have a second degree trinomial, and we're dividing that by a first degree binomial. The first polynomial we call the dividend, and then the polynomial that we're dividing by we call the divisor. And it's very important to be able to identify which is the dividend and which is the divisor when we go to set this problem up for long division. Before we do set it up for long division, we need to make sure that the terms in each polynomial are written from highest degree down to lowest degree. And if there are any missing terms, we fill them in with a 0. Both the trinomial and the binomial here are already set up starting with their highest degree term going down to the lowest with no missing terms, so we don't have to make any changes here. Okay, so we draw our long division symbol, and our dividend goes inside the symbol. The divisor goes in front. Okay. Before we solve that problem with long division, let's do a little review of a simpler long division problem with just numbers, just so that we can remember what the steps are. It may have been a while since you've done a long division problem. Okay, so here's the steps simplified here. First, we divide, then we multiply, subtract, and bring down. So if you remember those steps, you'll be good to go with any type of long division problem. Okay, let's look at the numbers that we have here. We have 549 divided by 20. Our first step is to see if the first digit of that dividend can be divided by the divisor. Well, 5 can't be divided by 20. So now we have to focus on the first two digits of the dividend, the 54. And 54 can be divided by 20 2 times. And then we write that 2 up top. That's where we're going to write our quotient, our answer. Our next step is to multiply the 2 times 20, which gives us 40. Our third step is to subtract this 40 from the 54, giving us 14. And then we bring down the next digit from the dividend, which is 9. Okay. Now we repeat the steps. Okay. 149 divided by 20 gives us 7. We write that up top. Okay. Next we multiply the 7 times 20. Then subtract 149 minus 140 gives us 9, and there are no other digits to bring down, so we're all done. Now we can write this solution one of two ways. We can either write it as 27 with a remainder of 9, or we can write it as a fraction with 27 as the whole number, and then the remainder we can set up as a fraction. The remainder of 9 becomes the numerator of the fraction, and our divisor is the denominator. So our answer as a mixed fraction is 27 and 9/20. And there's our quotient, our solution. Now we can follow those steps to solve our problem that we started off with. Okay, now remember, we're going to follow the same 4 steps of long division. First, we'll divide, and we focus on the first term that's in the dividend. We're going to divide that by the first term of the divisor. So 2x squared divided by x equals 2x. We write that 2x above the division symbol. And notice that I wrote the 2x right above the 5x because they're like terms. Doing it this way is going to help you to stay organized and make fewer mistakes when you're solving a problem like this. Okay. Our next step is to multiply. We multiply 2x times x plus 6, which gives us 2x squared plus 12x. And we write that beneath the dividend. Next, we're going to subtract, but notice I drew parentheses around that binomial just to remind me that I have to subtract each term from those like terms that are in the dividend. Okay, so now I'm going to subtract. Focus on the first terms in the first column there, 2x squared minus 2x squared will just give us 0, so we don't have to write that in. Then we move to the next like terms. 5x minus 12x will give us negative 7x. We write that below. And then after we're done subtracting, we bring down the next term from the dividend. So we bring down the minus 4. Now always remember to bring down the sign that is in front of that term. So since we had a subtraction sign in front of the 4, we bring that down with it. Now we start those steps again. We divide negative 7x by x, which gives us negative 7. And we write that up top as minus 7. Our next step is to multiply that negative 7 times x plus 6, giving us negative 7x minus 42. We write that below. Now we can subtract. Negative 7x minus negative 7x is the same as saying negative 7x plus 7x, giving us 0. We don't have to write it in. And then we move to the constant terms, and we have negative 4 minus negative 42, which is the same as negative 4 plus 42. Remember that subtracting a negative term is the same as adding that term. So this will give us a positive 38. So our answer is 2x minus 7 with a remainder of 38. Or we can write our remainder as a fraction. 2x minus 7 plus 38 over x plus 6. The remainder becomes the numerator of the fraction, and the divisor becomes the denominator. So here's our answer, which we call the quotient, written both ways. You just learned how to use long division to divide polynomials. Great job!